it's Wednesday, it's Ash Wednesday, so it's one of those days where some people, they open their business, some people, they leave it closed, and some people, some companies, they work, others don't. My dad, for example, not working today, but he did work in a previous holiday that we had, so sometimes people, they keep kind of like going back and forth. There's also people who I think they were in a strike that should kind of make up for it. They worked not yesterday. Yesterday was a holiday, but like Monday and now today. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just that I don't know. I like being up here. I think I showed it before, but I don't think I should do it again. But I have a really nice view of the city, and it's a really good place for you to contemplate and to ponder and to brood, to all the other verbs. And yesterday I was very happy with the video I recorded because I was able to open myself up in a way that I haven't before. It was very vulnerable talking about those things, and it made me feel better in the end. Even yesterday when I was going to bed, I started actually narrating like my fantasies, not out loud because I'm still kind of, I guess, shy to do that, but I kind of was breaking it down as if I was talking to somebody else, and I thought that actually helped. I don't think I can do that with like an actual person yet, but maybe it's going to come out when I have a therapy session tomorrow, at like 8:30 p.m. and it is a psychoanalysis session. It's going to be my first one, and I'm both excited and a little apprehensive about what is going to happen, about what's going to get out, because I think like once you open up, you say something, there is the benefit of feeling like you've lifted something away off your shoulders, right? But at the same time, like you feel very exposed, very vulnerable. Oh, I'm seeing the truck of the father of a friend that we have, and yeah, I think it's stopping by their house. It's the same street, but the street is basically like up here is it's uphill, and then it goes downhill, and then it goes uphill again, and then it goes flat for a little while. So not unlike most of the streets that we have here. And also, like, the reason why I have such a great view is because we are at the top here, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, I think that it is almost, because there is this therapy in MDR that I did for many years, well, not for many years, for like two-ish years, and they have like this stimulant, it can be auditory, it can be visual, it can be like sensorial, and basically there's like this back and forth, and then you kind of like observe it and you let things out as it happens, and I don't know, I think that the effect that I have here is kind of that, because this repetition, it kind of like ends up opening yourself up and talking about things, but even then, like, there are things that I did. I think I talk a lot about my past in this during like that period that I was doing that therapy, and I don't know, I feel like when it comes to trauma, I was able to address everything. Like what I'm facing right now is more forward. It is kind of like me trying to redo what has already happened, and like that's impossible, so it just leads to frustration. But something I was thinking about yesterday, because I saw something that it kind of like affected me. It was basically an individual who had done something that basically kind of like I wanted to do, something I wanted to not just do, to achieve something, something I wanted to achieve. And man, it hurt, like as I said before, like I have no ill will towards like that person or anybody else, but it's still like when I'm looking at it, it kind of stings. I was thinking about it even in terms of like physical pain, because I think that historically I've been very like averse to physical pain. Like I mean, nobody wants pain, but like I go through certain lengths to avoid physical pain, that I wouldn't necessarily go to avoid like emotional pain. But in this situation, I kind of like realized that I would rather be punched like 5 times than having to see that again, and that is kind of like a problem. I think like this is problematic. I shouldn't, wish anything like that upon myself. I should just, be cool, be chill. But it's kind of hard. And it's still too fresh, the wound, from Sunday. Like it's still a few days at best. I'm not, in a position to, I don't know, be fully self-actualized right now. But it is what it is. And it kind of like, it led me to think about some other situations in the past in which like this has kind of happened. But I'm not gonna lie, I think I've wanted very specific things. So whenever I would see, somebody else getting them, like didn't feel like, not an attack, but like, didn't feel like very personal, because it wasn't like the thing. It was a combination of things. But this time, I think that I mentioned this yesterday. It's like there's like several different elements, to this fantasy that I have, and one of them involved the thing that I saw. But there's all these other ones. But like this incomplete element, it is still kind of like affecting me in a way that before it wouldn't, because as I said, like the combination of things, and only like if that very specific combination of things happened, that it would feel very personal. That is like if it happened. Also, I kind of, I think it goes back to elements of, age, because I'm, well, not just me, we're all getting older, time doesn't stop. And there is this feeling of rejection that I have because, of like my age, and I wish I had, done more, I had accomplished more, and I haven't. And, I have like a very, positive attitude about all of this, because like it was not like I wasn't doing things. I was going through shit, through some shit, and I still am. So I have to be realistic in my expectations of what I could have done, and a lot of the things that I wanted, I guess, like I wish I had, wanted to do. Like they're very out there, like I have to really leave like the place I am at right now, but I am not really in a place where I can do that yet. Like the examples that I had, the times that I did do that, they never ended up okay. Like, and for yesterday just shows that yeah, it's still kind of the case, and it is what it is. It is frustrating, it is disappointing, but it is my reality. My parents, particularly my mom, they sat me down a little while ago, just to talk to me about like precisely that, like perspective and expectations, and how talking about people with this, talking specifically about depression, saying that they're kind of like they're a little different, from like other people. I believe the term that the book uses, you got this from a book. The book used was like special, like you're not worse than anybody, but like your brain functions a little differently, and I know that, but it was nice because she was basically, she was talking like that. It was like agreeing that like they don't really, the only thing they want from me, the only thing they expect from me is for me to be me and to be happy. Very sweet, wholesome things, which I knew, like I even if like I guess it's never been said based on like their actions and their demeanor, the way that they interact with me. I think that was very clear, but it was also kind of like an invitation, this conversation, for me to also not demand so much from myself, for me not to create like unrealistic expectations, which is something I have done many times in the past, and it has always ended up badly. It always ends up with me getting hurt, emotionally always, but like also physically, and that's not what anyone wants from me. Like that's not what I want for myself. The thing that I do is more like a means to an end. I'm not trying to get myself hurt. There's already enough things happening in life to get to hurt me, that I don't need to be the one adding more stuff, like more wood to the fire. But it was like a nice conversation, and it was, I don't know, I'm glad it happened. But it did get me thinking about me and my expectations, and like these fantasies that I have, they're the perfect example of that. There's a reason why like they are the amalgamation of so many things, because I want all those things to happen and to be present and to be real, but like no human being has ever done that. So like you know, how exactly do you expect that I would be the one to do it? I mean, of course, like you could expect, you know, yourself to achieve great things and all of that, but you know, it is just very unlikely. Particularly some of like my not even shortcomings, some of the circumstances in which I am inserted in, you know, some of the things having to do with my head. Like it is, you know, I'm fighting every day, but like most of the time the fight it is with my own head. So you know, I with like this constant struggle, like don't have like that much time left for me to go and, you know, pursue any struggle with like anything else. I talked about this before. I'm kind of like set on the path, and you know, I'm kind of like going through the motions so I can, you know, get to like that the finish line, let's say. You know, but the finish line is very I don't know. I think like say calling it mediocre, it would be unfair because it's not mediocre. It's pretty decent. It's pretty good for any person to kind of like get to that point. It's just that compared to like all my dreams and my fantasies, it is so little. It is not, you know, it's not. It doesn't feel like it's enough. Basically, it feels like, you know, I think that like I believe I could do more. You know, I could, you know. But then that's the thing with time again, because like, do I have the time yet to do it? You know, do I have because you know, I mean, I'm still young, so like it's not like I'm running out of life yet. I mean, I don't know what's happening tomorrow, so you know, maybe, you know, something will happen and I will go. But you know, assuming that I won't, that I will keep on existing. You know, time is passing, and some of the things that, you know, my fantasies I'm doing, I would have to even like start, and I haven't yet. And I talked about this before because, you know, I think the fantasy is just like a means to an end. You know, it's just something that makes me feel certain emotions. You know, it's something that you kind of like fulfill my pyramid of needs. So it's not really something that like I actively want to do. So the idea of like me starting that, you know, I mean, I could say I don't even know where to start from, but like I kind of do. But I'm like, do I want to pursue that? You know, like, am I going to drop other things to do that? You know, when I'm not so sure that, you know, that's the case. You know, like that's the thing for me, because I'm fully aware that these fantasies, you know, one day they're gonna go away. I know this because I've had other very intense fantasies before that lasted. Yeah, that's the issue. Some of them lasted for years. You know, there's one that started when I was 11, and I only got rid of it when I was 21. So it was like a decade of like that fantasy festering and growing and becoming something else. You know, of course, sometimes you have some detours. You know, you start some things that, you know, they have nothing to do with anything. But you know, you live in your head in that moment there, and then you go back to, you know, the path. It's okay to stray away, basically. And so I had it, and it was over. But the thing is that what ended it was very, you know, traumatic. It was, it has to be put in a fucking coma for, you know, fantasy to go away. So I don't really know what to do with this one. It hasn't even like been a year yet, but you know, and I've had other ones that didn't last so long. But I'm always surrounded by these fantasies, and they involve like so many different things, because that thing that is happening in them, like, it doesn't really matter. It's just the means to an end, as I've already said. You know, it's not really my passion. It's not really something that like I want to do, and that if I did, I would, you know, like be fulfilled and feel contented. I don't know, maybe actually yes, maybe if I succeeded at that, you know, it would be fulfilling. But that's the thing, the succeeding part, it is, you know, like the issue, because it's very unlikely that you are going to succeed, you know, with certain paths. And I don't, honestly, I love myself, I believe in myself, I think I can achieve great things, but I don't really think that like I'm going to be the one to break the mold, you know, particularly because sometimes there's a conflict between things, because I have the tendency to just, you know, I kind of like want to just be myself in my own corner, not really interacting with anything, and just kind of like living my life like that, you know, kind of like away from people. And all the things that I've kind of like, you know, dreamed of or fantasized about, they involve me interacting, doing a whole lot of interactions. You know, at the not only at the beginning, but like moving on, like that would be a big thing. So it just makes me wonder, like, am I compatible with these things that I am dreaming of? And you know, I feel like I don't feel like I know that I'm not, but it's still like I crave. I have those. It's kind of like these cravings, you could call them, because I feel like this, you know, calling them a fantasy, it is not intense enough for what, you know, it represents to my head. So I think a craving is a better way to put it. And yeah, so I don't really know how to get rid of them. But based on the past, I kind of, you know, think that at some point it will happen. I will put this will be put to rest, it'll be in the past, and I will just, you know, because when I'm thinking about these fantasies, I have like a couple that pop up, you know, that, you know, they were very intense when they happen, and I crave them very intensely, like as much, maybe not as much as, you know, I am craving this one right now. Maybe actually yes, because I think like I'm remembering, you know, things, so the intensity sometimes is lost. So I have these things that I dreamed of, that I fantasize of. I say dream of, but like I don't know, because dream of, it feels like something a little more intentional. And these things, they're kind of like just occurring in my head. They just happen to start, and they're just, you know, there. And of course they create roots, and they are very, they're intrinsically, you know, connected with my psyche. But at some point, like they will go away. I was gonna say I want to let them go, because I kind of do, but I don't know how. You know, I keep running in circles, you know, thinking that I have an idea, thinking that I know what to do, and then I don't, and I'm kind of, you know, stuck. But yeah, but like I trust that this one day is going to go away, and then it will no longer be painful, and I will no longer be kind of like affected by these things. But the thing is, like, how long until that happens? Because as I said, you know, like the longest one I had, lasting a fucking decade. You know, I don't have a decade, you know, for this to work. You know, yeah, I've had obsessions before. I'm thinking about some other ones that lasted, you know, over a year. There's some that lasted months, and yeah, this one's already lasted months. It has been happening for like at least since September, because I remember that we traveled, and when we were traveling, I was thinking, you know, the fantasy was there in my head. So I think it's possibly August, you know, because I went to the psych ward in July, and you know, the end of July, beginning of August, and I think that after that, my head kind of like had to latch onto something, and like that was the thing they latched onto. And it's interesting because like when I remember from like when it started, is that I had these loose stories, you know, like these loose pieces of story, and it started like as an amalgamation of that, you know, a connection. You know, what if this is all connected? Is this all happening in the same plane? And that is how, you know, like the baseline is started, and maybe that's why like it is so huge, you know, for me, because these other things, they were already there, you know, in the back of my mind, so they had already created roots. So you know, like I was built upon like a really good foundation, and that led to the struggle that I have today, which is letting go and stop caring, because I think that that's the biggest thing. Like I'm caring a lot about it, you know, I still want it so badly, you know, so anything that happens is still affecting me very intensely. As I said, I would, you know, like take 5 punches if I didn't have to see that thing again, or any other things, you know, resembling that. You know, but I will say that, you know, on the upside, I'm not feeling as shitty today. You know, like I'm not feeling certain, you know, like certain thoughts, they're not in my head. I am, you know, kind of healthy and stable, which is kind of normal whenever you have like an attempt, you know, for you to just, you know, kind of, you know, chill for a little while. It never, you know, lasts. You know, go back to your usual self eventually. But I am enjoying the peace that I have right now, peace of mind, and you know, I'm trying not to think about, you know, the worst case scenario. You know, the worst case scenario that like I would bring upon myself, because there are other worst case scenarios out there. You know, but I just want to conclude the thing I was talking about age, because you know, this should be like a very sore spot for me. You know, like me getting older every year. You know, my birthday would come and I would detest it. You know, I would hate it with like a passion. You know, because felt to me that like I had another year and I haven't really accomplished as much as I wanted, and naturally some of it was on my expectations. I was just had very unrealistic expectations, and they kept on growing, because I created expectations and then they didn't come true. So I'll create more expectations to make up for the ones that didn't come true, and then it would just become this monster increasingly larger until it got to a point that like this is not it's something that cannot really happen right now. Maybe in a decade, it's going to be a thing. And I mean, from like that point, it was like a couple of decades, right? But it was my dream. It was that one I would call my dream, because I actively concocted things. The thing that I have right now is just kind of like, they kind of happen. Ideas come and they, kind of like, they happening adjacent to the main thing, but then they become part of like the main thing, and there's that. So I had many issues with my birthday for the longest time. Thankfully, like from some years to now, I think 2022 was the first year that I genuinely actually enjoyed my birthday, since I was like a kid. I think that 11 years old I enjoyed my birthday. 12 to 13 I think I started to not really like it a lot. I remember that when I was in high school I was ready to it was not a good time for me, because it just reminded me of all the things that I wanted to have done and that I didn't. So it was just like a lot of frustration happening around that time of the year. And then 2022 is when I kind of so it's kind of like a decade, because at 14 I was already 15. I remember clearly not liking it. I remember it very clearly. So at some point, so 13, 14, I think it was kind of like a gradual thing. 14, like I didn't even want to have like a party or anything to celebrate. So there's that. And 13, kind of the same. I didn't want anything. So 14, it was 2012, and 2022, like a decade. And so I've been doing better. Like last year, I enjoyed my birthday. I enjoyed everything. It was good. I enjoyed not only my birthday, kind of like my birth month was filled with a lot of like fun things for me. But like right now, I can't help but feel old and unaccomplished. And I think that if I was 21, I wouldn't feel unaccomplished, because I would be still like young. I have a lot of time ahead of me. But I am 27, and there is a long road until I get any semblance of the type of achievement that I want to have. And I'll be in my 30s, and then that will not really be enough for me when I'm 30. And then there is the cycle of unhappiness. It's something I was thinking, like, am I going to be unhappy forever? Am I going to be disappointed forever? Because that's not a fun existence. That is not like a life I want to live. And then this is dangerous, because if I don't want to live it, thoughts start to pop up, and then plans start to happen, and that's not what I want right now. But I would say that all in all, I saw that thing that really affected me and made me feel like all these negative thoughts about myself. But it's it came and went in a certain way. Like right now, I'm not as affected as I was. I think me talking also helped a lot. So more of this in the future, hopefully. But there is this, idea. Like today, I'm a little bit more chill. But a couple of days ago, I was thinking about my life, and it was just unhappiness. It was just disappointment, because it was not the way I wanted it to be. It was not, like not even close. And I was far from, actualizing, any plans that I had. These fantasies, and I think fantasies is a good word for that, because they are very realistic. Like that's always a part of like my fantasies. Why do I, just it's not like me dreaming too big, because you can dream too big and still dream something that is realistic. It's just my head just goes. It's the megalomania. I'm not, manic right now, but I always see traces of it. Whenever I am, whenever I'm like this, it's just like, why can't I just, pick something that is doable instead of like something that cannot happen? Not only because like it involves, changing the past, but also because, it involves like a future that it's very like one in a million type of thing. And like it's not even my passion. Because I think like if like that was my passion and I wanted to pursue it, like it would be different. I would approach this differently. But like I said, it's not. It's just something that my head latched onto and it's still like attached to. And but yeah, but I have hopes that it will go away. Okay, when it's starting to get my nerves. But it will go away at some point. I don't know how long until that happens. But yeah, that's that. Like no conclusion because there's no conclusions right now in my life.